Hello, friends from anthropology class. Today I'm going to talk about my final ethnography. I studied the Berge de Seine, which is the pedestrian road between the Seine and the street like above it. So you have to go down to access this space. It's the closest to the Seine you can go with actually being like in the Seine. I chose this site because it was a very representative and important space in my day-to-day life. I would pass it a lot, and I would always choose to do a longer walk or take a longer way to pass through this because I really like it. I really like how it unifies Paris and how it brings such a big diversity together, and people from everywhere cross paths. So I thought it was very interesting, and I knew that I was going to learn a lot about Paris if I studied this space. So for the description of this site, this is a very big space, which runs almost from the Eiffel Tower until it can be like the Musée d'Orsay, depending on what space you're calling. But I chose to study from the Pont de l'Alma to the Pont Alexandre III, and in the middle of that, it includes the Pont d'Invalide. So I would walk through these three bridges, and like in this space I would walk, there was right next to the Pont de l'Alma a new addition of like platforms with plants and like a museum and some leisure benches for people to chill, which are called the Archipiel, and they were just added this year. After that, you can find some benches where people usually like sit and observe the Seine and look at boats pass and everything. Right behind that, there's a Velib station, and next to that, there's a little like workout park where you usually see people like doing routines. And then the Pont d'Invalide comes, and then next to that, there's another small playground for kids. And after that, right next to the Pont Alexandre III, there's a lot of like bistros and like not a lot, but like three cafe or bistro or bars, and next to that like a nightclub that is called Faust. So the methodology I used was walking this space, and I would take notes in my phone as like I observed people and I observed like similar patterns. And I chose to do this in my phone because if I was going to be walking, it would be hard to take notes somewhere else. So I did this on my phone. I had a very close relationship from the site, and as time went by, I started feeling included. The biggest reason for this was because I would usually go to this space before or after going to the gym, so I was usually wearing athletic wear, and the majority of the people here were running or working out or like in these parks doing routines or biking. So a vast majority of people were also wearing clothes similar to me. So this made me feel like a little part of like this group of people. Um so for the results, I took some of Rottenberg's information and ideas, and from this like a big part of it was his importance on schedules and on schedules in a city like Paris. So I I started to be very familiarized with the schedules from people here and how the city worked on a routine clearly marked by schedules. So, for example, I started realizing that people my age or younger that were going to school or university weren't at this site during business hours in the weekdays because obviously they were in class or they were studying and they didn't have time to like leisurely walk through here. So I started gaining a lot of insight in the understanding of how Paris functions through its schedules. And adding on what Rottenberg says on schedules, I thought a really big thing on schedules was also the interference weather has on them, because as time passed and as it got colder, as we got into winter, a lot less people were leisurely walking outside. Or when it rained, it interfered with the schedules of people because people were trying to keep up with a routine, and the weather, the climate can interfere with this. So during like the days that passed, I saw how this had a big impact on schedules. In conclusion, I really liked studying this space. I think it's a very accurate reflection on how a city like Paris works. I loved studying this space because it really sums a big city like Paris up very well, where it brings together so many people depending on the day or time of day. You can find from old people to kids with their families and groups by themselves, and you really start understanding how this functions. So I like, as a summing up for the semester, I really like this space because it really reflected on what Paris is. Thank you for watching.